Welcome to day two. Your chapter one info that we completed on day one, that should be all filled in. If it's not, you're going to want to go ahead and click the link to the chapter one walkthrough and complete that. But we're down here on chapter two, and it says day two task using the link from yesterday. Go back to the Google Earth tour, click the right hour, and let's get to chapter two. So we open up our link back out to the original Google Earth tour. We click on our table of contents, and we're down here on chapter two is where we're going to be. And our first task, it says chapter two machines. Before clicking play, read the blurb and follow the link, which is also linked here, to learn more about the secret world of yarn and then answer the questions below. So let's read that blurb and click the link. There are 6 miles of yarn in a single Planet Money t-shirt. If any of that yarn is too thick or too thin, even by a little bit, the t-shirt could start falling apart after just a few washes. Yarn, by the way, is what ordinary people call thread. In the garment business, it's called yarn. Let's read about the secret world of yarn here. And then again, remember our task, our purpose for reading is to just what is the most interesting thing? So I'm going to have you take a moment here and scroll through. If you haven't already, you should have clicked the blurb to open up from here from your dock, or if you're following along in Google Earth, you've clicked the blurb from here. But what we have here is yarn. Uh, uh, and so what I'd like you to do is just take a moment and pause. And as you are pausing, I'd like you to read through this info all about the secret world of yarn. So go ahead and pause that and answer your questions here. Okay, so you should have already typed in what you found most interesting about yarn. And now let's move on. Let's learn more. Let's click the play button, and in the green boxes below, write down an observation and thing you wonder about machines. When the video is done, click the right arrow and head to chapter 3, people. So here we go. Let's learn about the machines.
Our cotton leaves the United States and goes around the world to Colombia, Indonesia, and Bangladesh, where it goes from plant to fabric, with barely a human being involved. Just lots and lots of cool machines, which we set to music. Our cotton first went to spinning factories like this one. Raw cotton is sucked up, laid down in big sheets, straightened, pulled into long feathery ropes like an infinite ponytail, stretched, twisted, and with a final twist, it becomes yarn. It's then sent on big spools to the next step, the circular knitting machine, where our yarn is turned into fabric. It's washed, dyed, and voila, the fabric for our shirts. Soft, comfy, a high-tech engineering marvel.
Alrighty, so if you haven't already, make sure that you type in an observation, something you noticed from the video and something you're wondering from the video. You can go ahead and pause me, but then we're moving on to chapter 3, the people. This time, click the play button, and we're going to do that first to learn about Jasmine and Doris. As we watch, what we want to do is just basically make some notes on some observations. What stands out to you? What surprises you? And then also, I'd like you to pause this video, or if you're watching the video from within Google Earth on your own, if you're watching this video up here, please pause at various points as you're making these observations, because I really don't want you to miss anything. And you're looking to fill up 4 columns or 4 notes in each of these 2 columns here. So we're just going to get that video playing, and you're going to be making your observations as we get to meet Jasmine and Doris.
Our men's t-shirt was made here, in this factory, in Bangladesh. Here's one of the people who made it.
এরপরে মিলানোর পরে শোল্ডার করবে ওভারলকে এখানে টপ স্টিচ হবে
Our women's t-shirt was made here, in this factory, in Colombia.
Ay, ¿cómo hizo para conseguirla? La punta es lo más importante de la camiseta. Es lo que le da la apariencia a la camisa.
Doris and Jasmine share a job, but they're separated by the economic realities of the countries they live in. Bangladesh is much poorer than Colombia. And the role the garment industry plays in Bangladesh, the role of our t-shirts, is very different. Jasmine Akhtar lives with her brother, sister-in-law, and roommate in a tiny rooming house. There's no running water, just a gas stove to cook. There's a small TV and a bookcase that holds all her belongings. She leaves for work at 7 a.m. each day, 6 days a week. She makes one of the lowest wages in the world, about $80 a month. Jasmine has been working in clothing factories since she was 16 years old. And she is not alone. 4 million people in Bangladesh work in the garment industry. It's double the number from a decade ago. Which raises a question. What has driven 4 million people to work long hours in these factories for some of the lowest wages in the world? To answer that question, we went back with Jasmine to the village where she grew up.
কেউ ভালো সুস্থভাবে চলা অবস্থায় কেউ কখনো গার্মেন্টসে যাবেন কারণ আমি যেরকম আসছি এরকম সবাই
A lot of garment workers come from villages like Jasmine's, where people worry about getting enough food to eat and sometimes don't, and where girls are seen as an economic burden. The solution? Find a husband with the means to support your daughter. But finding a good husband costs money, dowry. In Jasmine's family, her older sister's dowry sent the family into debt.
আমাদের থেকে ঋণ পাবে প্রতিদিন ঘরে আসবে একটা লোক তখন আমার ভিতরে একটা জিদ আসছে কি রে আমরা তো ঘরে আছি বেকার আমরা কেন থাকবো আমরা শহরে গেলে তো অনেক টাকা ইনকাম করতে পারবো তখন আমার জিদে আমি শহরে গেছি যাওয়ার পরে আমি চাকরি করে মা বাবার টাকা দিচ্ছি হেল্প করছি আর কি তাই আস্তে আস্তে সব ক্লিয়ার হয়ে গেছে
This was Jasmine's trade-off. Long hours, monotonous low-wage job. But in a factory, she says, that feels safe, better than others she's worked in. An improvement, however slight, over a life of even more crushing poverty in her village. In the middle of our t-shirt project, the worst garment industry disaster in history happened in Bangladesh. The factory collapse at Rana Plaza. Suddenly, the world was considering questions that we'd been considering. Who are the people that make our clothes? What are their lives like? More than 1,000 people died that day. They died seeking the same things that Jasmine was seeking. A few more calories in their diet, the chance maybe to pay off a debt. They died, in other words, trying to make the same trade-off that Jasmine had. A life of extreme poverty for one slightly better off. Our women's t-shirt was made in a country with a much more advanced economy, Colombia. Things there are different. Doris Restrepo lives there with her mother in a small apartment. And she supports the two of them on the salary she earns at the factory where our shirts were made.
Me imagino que las personas que van a usar esa camiseta son personas de Estados Unidos, gringos, gordos. Me imagino las personas gordas porque las camisetas que hacemos son como inversas y ahí sabemos que es para personas gigantes.
Doris makes almost 4 times what Jasmine makes in Bangladesh and can imagine a life outside the garment industry. Doris has a small side business selling pastries door to door and dreams of one day opening her own business.
Pienso que si Dios quiere y todo me sale bien para este año, es el último en mi profesión.
In Colombia, the garment industry is just an industry. But in Bangladesh, it's a social upheaval. Millions of women like Jasmine living lives that just 20 years ago would have been hard to imagine. Lives filled with new risks and new possibilities. Most of the money Jasmine earns at the factory she sends home to her family, but she keeps about $10 a month for herself. Food, or maybe an impulse purchase on her one day off a week. We talked to both labor activists and factory owners about the impact of our t-shirt on the lives of people in Bangladesh. Our shirt providing opportunities for people like Jasmine, or is it taking advantage of a desperate population? Both the activists and the owners told us the same thing, that the worst possible outcome from tragedies like the factory collapse at Rana Plaza would be for the garment industry to leave Bangladesh altogether. What they don't agree on, what they're fighting about right now, what more needs to be done to improve the lives of workers in Bangladesh? And what does it all have to do with the price of our t-shirt?
All right, so hopefully as you watch that, you found probably more than 4 compelling things to note that stood out to you, that surprised you, that wondered you, just details. But each Jasmine and Doris should have at least 4 separate notes apiece that were based off that video clip. Now we're on to number 2, and it says, after viewing the video, follow the link in the blurb, which is also linked here, and then you're going to read the page, explore the pictures and the graphs. After you have done that, and I'm just going to preview, after you have done that, you're going to move on to number 3 here, where it says describe some of the advantages that the garment industry has on people's lives, like Jasmine and Doris, and then describe some of the disadvantages. And you're going to be basing that off the notes that you took up there, and then you're also going to be basing that off of the link as well, as we get to learn a little bit more about the people. So in a moment here, I'm going to want you to pause, and I'm going to want you to open up this link either from, again, Google Earth, or open up this link from right here in your doc. But out on this link, I want you to look closely, look at the pictures, read the captions, and just make some notes, and you'll probably make a lot of connections back to your U.S. history class last year. You should, hopefully, especially with the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire. And so there's all kinds of charts and graphs and info that you should look at here. And then after you have done that, you're going to come back here, and you're going to be filling in 2 advantages that the garment industry has, as well as 2 disadvantages. Then when you're done with that, you're done with day 2. So we're just going to kind of end the video here, because you're going to be done with day 2. And by this point, you should have your first 2 pages and really the first 3 chapters of your doc taken care of. Thanks.